Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate and Aron Maxon here with you. Aron, how's it going?
It's going great. Sitting outside. It's the first time in about 2 weeks here
I was
in our
about to
region of
say,
Ohio that hasn't been 9,000 degrees even when the sun goes down, so I took advantage of it.
I was about to say it was 85 today and felt cool. That's how hot it's
Yes.
been. So, and I
Like,
know a lot of the country's
there's-
going through the heat wave, and yeah, it sucks.
It's like it shouldn't be 90 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. It's not natural.
What we're doing this week on the show is going to be it's going to roll into next week's episode of the show, because I told Aron a few weeks ago to pick a year, and the year he picked was 1992 for us to do a draft. And here's how this is going to work. We're going to draft from the active rosters in June. Since we're in June of 2024, I picked the active rosters in June of 1992 for the WWF, WCW, and then I just picked 10 random who I think are good talents that would be good for this draft, international and indie stars. So we have all those people to pick from. This draft is going to have 15 rounds where we get 2 picks apiece. I did separate tag teams. So if one of us wants an entire tag team, we're going to have to draft them not necessarily draft them together, but we need to draft them individually.
Yeah.
15 rounds, 2 picks per round. We will each wind up with a roster of 30. And then for the next show, we're going to book our first card that we would have if we had that roster. And what I wanted to tell you also, Aron, I hadn't covered this with you yet because I really hadn't thought about it till I started thinking about what I was going to do with my card. I don't care what you do with it. I don't care if when you have your roster, if you want to say there were a couple of weeks on that you had of TV that you could set up angles or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't care. Once you have the person, you can use them how you want. I'm not saying I would do it, but as an example, say I draft the Mountie and I want to use him as Jacques Rougeau, I can do that. I've got him now,
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
that just little things like that. And obviously Aron probably has a strategy, and so do I, looking at the rosters, and, you look at people, okay, where was this person in 92, like talent wise? Where was this person in 92 age wise? Where would they fit on my card in 92? A lot of thought. Do you want me? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have this is everybody that I want, and then I have my alternate list of, if
me
pick that
me
guy,
too,
now I got to go with this guy.
Yeah, like I have my strategy. I'm like, but if I get fucked. So do you want me just real quick to run down everybody that's on these lists?
That way people know. Yeah, that's fine.
Shouldn't take me too long. Again, these are the active rosters for the WWF, WCW, and then my 10 random that I picked for June of 1992. Here we go. WWF has Hulk Hogan, Tito Santana, the Brooklyn Brawler, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Jim Powers, Coco Beware, Rick Martel, Repo Man, The Ultimate Warrior, Ted DiBiase, Virgil, Jim Duggan, Shawn Michaels, Big Boss Man, Luke and Butch the Bushwhackers, Typhoon and Earthquake, The Natural Disasters, Kato, Sergeant Slaughter, Hawk and Animal, the LOD, the British Bulldog, the Undertaker, Brian Knobbs, Jerry Saggs, the Mountie, the Berserker, IRS, Bo Beverly, Blake Beverly, Skinner, Ric Flair, Tatanka, Owen Hart, Barry Horowitz, Papa Shango, and Nails. And I pulled this from a website that seemed like it had its shit together as far as rosters go, because they actually had them by month.
That SmackDown Hotel thing or whatever.
I think so, but the only one that I was iffy on that they might have missed, and it's up to you if you want to add him in, we can. I'm pretty sure this roster is pretty fucking accurate, but I'm pretty sure Kerry Von Erich was still wrestling regularly for WWF at this time.
I'm not sure. I mean, if you want to, it's fine. I've already made my picks, so.
All right. Well, we'll throw Von Erich in there. That way, maybe if you don't get with somebody you picked and you're like, I'd like to have Kerry Von Erich, you can pick him. So we'll add him to the list. WCW's roster was Bobby Eaton, Sting, Jimmy Garvin, Ron Simmons, Rick Steiner, Michael Hayes, JYD, Scott Steiner, Brian Pillman, Tom Zenk, Arn Anderson, Ricky Morton, Brad Armstrong, Tracy Smothers, Barry Windham, Vader, Vinny Vegas, Mr. Hughes, Dan Spivey, Larry Zbyszko, Dustin Rhodes, Big Josh, Johnny B. Bad, Steve Austin, Cactus Jack, Van Hammer, Rick Rude, Rick Steamboat, Diamond Dallas Page, Marcus Bagwell, Greg Valentine, Nikita Koloff, Super Invader, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, The Barbarian, Scotty Flamingo, and Dick Slater. And then the international / indie folks that I just picked, like I said, I just picked a random 10 that could lend themselves to a good roster in 92. The Patriot, Eddie Gilbert, Great Muta, Jushin Liger, Terry Funk, Jerry Lawler, Mitsuharu Misawa, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and La Parka. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say 92 is kind of an underrated year. And if you listen to those rosters, it's two pretty solid rosters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. The business is kind of starting to tank a little bit, but the rosters are still pretty fucking solid.
Yeah.
And I told Aron to give him a bit of an advantage here, I guess, that I was going to give him the first 2 draft picks. So, Aron, if you want to go ahead and, if you have any comments on, who you're picking and why, or if you want to save, some people I'll be like, this is obviously why I'm picking them. Some people I'm going to be like, I'm going to save it for when I book my card. But
yeah, that was insanity. Anyway, somebody just drove by on like a little dirt bike. It was like, what? I'm like, okay.
I didn't even hear him.
Yeah. But anyway, the first draft pick for my company, I don't know what name I'm going to call it or whatever, but reason being, and these two, I think, Nate, you're going to have to scratch some names off your list. It's who I feel is the best wrestler in the world right now, in my opinion, is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yes, he was definitely in my first round picks.
Yes, well, he is not anymore. Bret is coming over. Obviously, he's going to be my big guy. Like just basically the first 4 guys I'm picking are that I hope I get are going to be like the tent poles or whatever you want to call them, my pillars. So yes, Bret Hart, first pick of the draft. So then the next person I'm going to pick is going to be Big Van Vader.
All right. He was not in my first round, but he was definitely in my first 2 rounds. Big Van. So you got a great face and a great heel to start off.
And I think in 92, they're probably I don't know. I don't know if this is a crazy a crazy thing to say, but I think they're the best 2 acts, or if you want to call it that, in wrestling in 92. Vader's on fucking fire, man.
Yes, he is. Okay, so my first round, the first pick was actually, I guess he'll move up to my first pick. My first pick that I'm going to make here was actually my second pick before Aron took Bret Hart. So my first pick in this draft is going to be, at the time, he would be known as Stunning Steve Austin.
I got to scratch him off.
So my first pick is Stunning Steve Austin. What a canvas he is in 92. Still like an open canvas.
Yeah, he's a puppy with big paws. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. So I got Steve Austin, and the next one is obviously, like I said, Bret was going to be my first pick. So he's off the table. Vader was also going to be one of my first picks. But he's off the table. But who I'm going to pick next is, let me look here and see which one of these 2 people I want to make sure that I get my hands on. See, this is it's going to start getting tricky. You're going to be like, fuck.
Yeah.
All right, I got to get my hands on Shawn Michaels. So
Yes,
Steve
do.
Austin, and Shawn Michaels are my first two picks.
All right. I had to scratch him off one of my lists too. I'm not going to tell you which one, but yes, you've knocked out two of mine. You have knocked out two of yours. Interesting thing. You don't hear that fucking. It just went by again.
No, I do
Anyway.
not. I do not.
Yeah, it's fucking hillbillies, man. So we're going into round two, correct?
Yes.
All right, round two. You didn't take either one of these guys yet, so that's good. My first pick for round two is Rick Steiner.
Rick Steiner. Let me write him down on your roster here. I'm writing these down just for my posterity. He was not way up there for me, but he was definitely somebody that I have one of my check marks next to that I wanted to get drafted. So I guess I won't be drafting Rick Steiner.
Yes. Picking him because if I'm looking at it, and I've said it multiple times on multiple shows, that Rick was very over with me, and I'm looking at it saying, I'm finally going to do something with this guy. You know what I mean? More than just being a mid. I almost said mid card. He wasn't a mid. I consider the Steiner brothers when they were a tag team to be a main event. You know what I mean? But
yes.
Yeah. There's not a lot of tag teams that I'd say those guys are main eventers because tag team is just tag team, you know?
Yeah.
Not trying to disparage tag team, but they're on that list with like the roadies and shit like that. So my fourth pick is Ted DiBiase.
All right, Ted DiBiase. He adds a veteran to the mix to have on your roster.
Yes.
So Aaron's second round is Rick Steiner, Ted DiBiase. And I'll read the entire rosters when we get to the end, everybody. But
okay.
So I gotta move Rick Steiner off. So I'm gonna look and see. I'll look as you're talking next time and see if there's somebody I want to replace him with in my brain. My next pick, you might not expect them to be picked so high, but I have a reason for it. My number 3 pick in this draft is going to be Bobby Eaton.
All right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Bobby Eaton, man. No hole in that game. It's kind of like what you just said about Teddy. Like, it's a veteran on your roster that can fucking work.
And he can work singles. He can work tag team.
He can be a face. He can be a heel.
Mm-hmm.
He's an all-tool player. Other than promo, obviously, but it's Bobby Eaton. He doesn't have to cut a promo.
And then my next pick. Okay, so we got Bobby Eaton. Kind of gave the reasons why there. I go between names. Like we get into it, and then I go because I'm like, do I want to fucking pick this dude, get him on my roster, or is Aaron going to take him in the next round, or do I want to pick this dude and make sure he's on my roster? So the next person I'm going to pick, just to make sure he's there, just to make sure I got him on the card, is Jushin Thunder Liger.
All right. It's just what can you not like? I didn't have him on any of mine, but there's no reason why. There's a reason why I didn't, but
he's actually. It's funny. It's funny that you say that now, and that's the other thing that's fun about this draft thing. You said I didn't have him on any of my lists. I would have picked him later if I knew that. Like I know how much you like Liger, and I was like,
I love him.
He's gonna pick Liger early. So see. That's the beauty of this thing. It's like, fuck, I could have waited a little bit to pick Liger, but it's all right. It's all right. I got it. So
I don't know if it's silly, but I was just doing it like I was like, I'm building a promotion in my head. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, me too.
Anyway,
me too. So my second round
like
picks,
a certain style I want of it and everything.
Bobby Eaton.
I keep talking over you. Sorry.
That's all right. Bobby Eaton and Jushin Liger, my second round picks. So now it is your turn for your third round picks.
All right, my next third round. Like there's going to be a second third round. My next round, which is the third round, round. How now, brown cow? Is the first guy I'm selecting is Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog.
Write that down. Aron got the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Another great guy to have on the card in '92.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
What do you want to say? I'd say that was like probably, and I'm not saying that once he came back as the heel, Davey Boy Smith and everything, but as far as wrestling goes, singles wise, '92 is probably when he was at his best as a singles wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. He was good in '96 and stuff, but
I think he was actually a better worker when he got less roided up. You know,
mm-hmm.
I almost said fat. Davey was he wasn't fat. He was muscle fat. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know
he was puffy. He was puffy.
Yeah, it was like Triple H and the ruthless aggression era or whatever.
Yeah,
but I think he was a better worker when he came back, and they like slimmed down or whatever. But marketability wise, this was where he was at his peak.
Yeah,
definitely. Put that guy on a fucking poster. You know what I mean? So,
mm-hmm.
And then the next guy on my list, it shouldn't be any surprise that he's on my list, is Rick Rude.
Rick Rude. Not a surprise, and actually he was a little bit lower down on my list. Like, he was one of those guys that I knew you were going to pick him. If I got to the point where I was comfortable to steal him, I was going to go for it, but I didn't need him on what I want my card to look like or what I want my roster to look like. I didn't need him, but he was a great addition. I'm not going to argue with that at all.
Yeah.
Rick Rude.
And he's one of the rare air guys that was better when he left the WWE. He was great in the WWE, but he was better in WCW. But anyway, those are my third round picks.
All right, so now we come to my third round. And the first person I'm going to pick for this round is Barry Windham.
Oh, you took him from me.
92 Barry Windham. He still hadn't got fat yet.
Yeah.
He still hadn't, like, he started, in 93s when he started. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I'm not judging the man. But it just coming into once he hit about 93, it was almost like I don't know if shit was going on in his personal life or what, but it was kind of like he gave up. I mean, I know he did the stuff with Dustin and stuff earlier in the year, but later on when it got to like the NWA title thing with Flair and all, anyway, I'm getting in the weeds, but 92 Barry Windham was still top notch.
And the funny thing is, even when he was fat, he was still fantastic.
Yeah.
He just looked like shit.
So got Barry Windham. And then my next pick, number 6 pick here in round 3 is, okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo on this one.
So if you don't take one of my guys.
Randy Savage.
Oh, he didn't take one of my guys. Good.
I mean, any roster I ever build, I'm going to want Randy Savage on if he's alive because he's my favorite wrestler of all time. I can fucking do something with Randy Savage.
It was very close to me picking Randy, but I just had this roster vision in my head. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I don't know. It just I was like, I think Nate's gonna pick him. Said I kind of want to. Like it was very very close to me putting him on there, but he wasn't on it. So.
All right. So my third round picks, Barry Windham, Randy Savage.
All right. So this is
your fourth round.
All right. My fourth round, I am going first with the natural Dustin Rhodes.
All right.
It's kind of what we said about Steve, puppy with big paws. Future's bright for this guy. He's only going to get better, and hindsight being 2020, obviously he did.
Yes.
But yeah, so Dustin, and then this is where I was going to pick Steve, and you took him. So this is where I got to do some thinking. The next guy, sorry, I gotta think a minute. So my next one is going to be the model Rick Martel.
All right. So I didn't have Dustin or Rick Martel on my first pick roster. So
yeah, Martel was in my alt group, but yeah.
Two great workers, Dustin Rhodes, Rick Martel. And Rick Martel is another one of those guys. He's going to be a veteran that you can have. That's actually the funny thing about Rick Martel is in 92, he was a veteran, but didn't feel like a veteran.
Yeah.
You know, he still felt like
he never looked old.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when he came back in 97, he still looked like Rick Martel. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, the next round. Okay, so Aaron's fourth round. You got Dustin Rhodes and Rick Martel. My fourth round is going to tell a little bit of a story about how you want one of my division. I'm going to want one of my divisions to go. My fourth round, my fourth round. I'm just going to say them both right at the same time. I am picking Bo Beverly and Blake Beverly.
All right. You took Bo off my alternate list. Just because, I'm like everybody's got that weird wrestler that nobody else likes, but you enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's Mike Enos for me. I was like, I got to figure out how to get Mike Enos on my card, but he took him, so that's all right.
Now you don't.
I think they're an underrated tag team.
Oh, they're a severely underrated tag team. Especially in this era where, especially in the WWF, where tag team wrestling is kind of bleh,
Yeah.
Those guys had great matches with everybody. Didn't matter who they were in the ring with. And then they fuck up some jobbers.
Nobody got. You know what I mean? Like yeah. I just think if they would have just been like Mike Enos and Wayne Bloom, and they're just an ass kicking tag team, I think it would have been different. But it's my opinion.
So yeah, that was a pretty quick and easy round 4 for me. The Beverly Brothers coming into my roster.
Sorry,
that's all right.
And talking to putting Mike Enos over, they said Wayne Bloom. I think it was Kevin Nash. Said Wayne Bloom was like one of the strongest dudes in any locker room that he was in. Like he didn't look like it, but that dude could fucking lift, and like he was like freaky strong,
lean and strong.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going into my round 5, correct?
Correct.
All right, and this we're gonna have to do some thinking because Barry was gonna be in my round 5, but the guy that you did not take from me, and thank you for not, is Brad Armstrong.
Brad Armstrong. I kind of had in the back of my mind that you were probably going to pick Brad, and to be honest with you, and this is not in any way, shape, or form dissing Brad Armstrong, I didn't really need him for my roster, so I really, honest to God, I left him open because I knew you were gonna want him anyway. Yeah. So I was like, that's not one that I feel that I need, and that's one I know you're gonna want. So
yeah, guy that I want on my fucking roster. He's one of my favorites. So now I got to do a little digging here, go through my alternates, and with my alternates, I am going to pick. Sorry, I'm thinking.
It's all right.
You can edit this down for time.
I want them to know we're thinking.
I'm going to go with Big Josh.
Big Josh. That is, of course, Matt Bourne.
Yeah, spoiler alert, he's losing that fucking gimmick.
Your job is no longer lumberjack, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So, Aaron's round 5, Brad Armstrong and Big Josh, of course, as we just said, that's Matt Bourne. My round.
Like if this is like out in the arena, like if this arena and like you and I are drafting people, And Big Josh comes out. I look right at him and like, take that shit off.
Take this shit off right now. All right. My number 9 draft pick. My round 5. Here we go. About to round out the first third of the roster here. And I am going to pick a young, still with a huge career ahead of him in this gimmick, Undertaker.
All right.
He's another guy that, if you think about it, in 92, it's funny because in 92 he'd already made a big enough impact with that gimmick where he had been the WWF champion.
Yeah,
but he still has so much to go. You know, he's still got so much of his career left, and
like 92 is just the infancy of that character.
Yeah, him turning on Jake and becoming a face, and and that was when they decided, because he was kind of supposed to be one of the Hogan beats him, and then he just kind of fizzles or whatever, and then starts losing to the big baby faces, and then he's gone. It was the formula, right? When he turned on Jake, you can tell that's the moment that they had decided they were going to keep trying to keep that character. Because if they didn't want to keep that character, they'd have never turned it babyface.
Yep. And I think it's kind of like what we were talking about with like when we talked about WCW fucking not realizing what they had with Kevin Nash, which it's a different type of worker, Like I never say that Kevin Nash is because the worker is Mark Calloway, but it was the how do I want to say it? Like the smartness of wrestling people running a wrestling program. You know what I mean? It's like Bruce and Vince and Pat were like, look at this motherfucker. Like that's the first thing it was. Like, look how big he is. And then they got him. And I know he wasn't working in that style because they didn't want him to, but once they got him, they were like, we got to keep this guy.
Yeah. So Undertaker is my next, and then my 9th pick and my 10th pick. I guess you'd call this the supernatural round of my tournament or my draft. The next pick that I have is Papa Shango.
Oh, I gotta scratch off the Shang.
Also, another one of my favorite guilty pleasure gimmicks in wrestling.
Yes.
I love Papa Shango.
Yes.
So yeah, there we go. My 5th round, I got the Undertaker and Papa Shango. So now it's Aaron's 6th round of the tournament, pick 11 and 12.
All right. My first pick for round 6 is Ron Simmons.
So another guy with a lot left in him in 92. Young, strong, fucking impressive. What an athlete.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
Like his promos weren't the greatest promos in the world, but it didn't matter because it was like what he said. It was like he said it with purpose. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter if he's the greatest talker in the world because he seemed like a real guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a badass. You know what I mean? So yeah, kind of like Tony Atlas.
Yeah. Well, and I am in no way, shape, or form saying anything bad about the appearance of Ron Simmons' wife. In the standard way of things, a pretty woman. And the way that you were going to like the real, he's real. Most wrestlers would have allowed, especially in that time of kayfabe, would have allowed the promotion to like remember when Ron showed up for that thing with his wife, the 20th anniversary on TBS or whatever, they would have allowed some like model looking woman to play the wrestler's wife. Ron was like, nope, it's going to be my wife.
That's my
wife.
And it's like, I know they all say it during their promos.
And again, I was not in any way, I was in no way saying Ron's wife was an ugly woman. That's not what I was saying. But.
Yeah, I shouldn't say average either. She's a woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also think that it like because he put her over obviously during his Hall of Fame induction, but it's also like I think if somebody would have looked at Ron Simmons and said, "We're gonna have this lady play your wife," he'd be like, "What?
No, you're not.
Like she's the one that's been beside me the entire time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not doing that shit." So my second pick for round 6 is AA Arn Anderson.
I'm gonna knock him off my list. Should have picked
And
him
you
last
should,
round.
because which you should have had to knock him off your list, because why wouldn't you want Arn Anderson?
Exactly.
You do whatever you want him to do.
All right. So for my next round, so Aaron's 6th round, number 11, number 12, he picks Ron Simmons and Arn Anderson. My next round, let me see here. Pick 11. Still got quite a bit of roster left to fill. Excusez-moi. I'm going to go with Tatanka.
All right.
Um,
I don't have to knock him off of either list. And that's
So-
not a knock on him. I was just looking at my how
I
want
think
him to
he's. I
present
think
my-
he's a guy. He's like a guy. Like, okay, so like I like Brad Armstrong, but you really like Brad Armstrong, and
Yeah.
you like Tatanka, but I really like Tatanka. You know what I mean?
know
Like,
you do.
so
I know you do.
I'm a Chris Chavis mark. I like me some Chris Chavis, except when he played heel because it didn't work. It wasn't his fault. But anyway,
that's why I told you I've been looking every day, seeing if those WWE superstar figures come in. I was like, if a Tatanka comes in and we only get one, I'm buying it for Nate.
All right, so I got Tatanka. Let me look. I'm trying to look at the people I still have my check marks left by that you haven't picked yet. All right, yep, this one right here. All right, so my first pick of round 6 was Tatanka. My second pick of round 6, number 12, my 12th round pick in this 1992 draft is the Barbarian.
You motherfucker. He was late in my draft pool, but he was on it.
He's another guy that if I'm building a roster, anytime he's alive, he's not dead. Anytime he's wrestling, anytime he's active, I want Barbarian on my roster. Actually, on the Wrestling Revolution game, like as a booker, like Barbarian. You know how like
Barbarian.
I always
pick Barbarian.
Yeah, me too. You know how like I was about to say, you know how like with you just associate wherever Vince Russo's booking, Jeff Jarrett's gonna go.
Yeah.
Like wherever I'm booking on Wrestling Revolution, Barbarian will be there.
I always have Barbarian, and for some reason, I always want Skinner. Like, I'm getting Skinner.
Yeah, my guys, I don't know why, but my guys on that game are Barbarian and Booker T. They just tend to follow me everywhere I go. So there you go. My 6th round, number 11, number 12, Tatanka and the Barbarian.
All right. Yeah, so now we're rolling into round 7, correct?
Round 7, yes.
My number 1 pick for round 7 is Ricky Morton.
Damn it. All right, you got one of mine. Ricky Morton is on Aaron's roster. Another guy you want to have on your wrestling roster if he's available.
Yes. We don't need to talk too much about Ricky. So we'll move into my second pick for round 7, and people might not get it, but I have an idea for it, and it is Tom Zank.
Tom Zank. He was so much not on my list, I forgot writing his name down. So
yes.
Tom Zank.
I have plans for Tom Zank.
Okay.
Just say it that way.
If you got a plan, you got a plan, goddammit.
And I think he was a good worker. But besides him being a good worker, like I said, I got plans for Mr. Zank.
So Aaron's 7th round pick, 13 and 14, Rick Morton and Tom Zank. I'm assuming you're not going to have Ricky wrestling as Richard Morton.
Absolutely not.
All right, so
his heel turn was kind of the same as Tatanka. Like they turned him into Richard Morton, but he still wore like the rock and roll gimmick and
he had the big mullet. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean he did cut his hair. He did cut his hair short. I'll give him that. But he still wore like, the same trunks and kind of work the same style and everything. It's like it didn't make any sense. It was stupid.
Okay.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Round 7 for me, my 13th pick for my roster. I guess these guys are parting ways in 1992 because I'm going to pick Scott Steiner.
All right. He was on my alt list, so I'll scratch him off.
I think in 1992, Scott Steiner was one of the 5 best wrestlers in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can definitely do, like, I had him and Rick picked originally, like when I did my first list, because obviously I was going to use them as a tag team, and obviously, as you see, I picked the Beverly Brothers, so I was going somewhere there. But I can do something with Scott as a singles.
Oh, anybody could do anything with Scott if they wanted to. Like, that dude was so innovative in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing shit nobody else was doing.
And then my 14th pick is going to be, let me see, I'm going to pick between one of these two guys. That both of them, I fucking love them. I'm going to pick for this one. Hopefully you don't take the other guy. Scotty Flamingo.
I think I had him on mine. I did. I did have Tatanka. I didn't Sorry.
Yeah, I'm picking.
I only had 13 checks.
I'm picking Scott Levy, Scotty Flamingo to be on my roster in 92. Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Just a little shit talking heel. You can always do something with one of those guys.
And he can be in the booth if you need him to.
Yeah. You can have him in the booth. You can have him managing. You can have him be the guy that for like a month and a half, people want to see him get his ass kicked, and then he finally gets beat the shit out of at the fucking blow-off pay-per-view.
We mentioned that. Just mentioning that, just so you know, I forgot to mention it at the beginning. Excuse me, because I didn't put any of them in this draft thing. I just wanted us to draft our wrestlers. When the whole thing's over, whether here or when we talk and chat or whatever, doesn't matter. We can hammer out a couple announced teams, and do you want to use these couple managers? You can use these couple managers. We could just hammer that shit out. But
all right,
yeah. But we mentioned him.
Scotty Flamingo is a guy that for like a month and a half he keeps getting away from Scott, and then at your pay-per-view he drops that motherfucker on his head with the Snyder screwdriver, and the place erupts.
Little fucking shit. Okay. Yes, round 8 of the draft here. Aaron, who's your 15th and 16th pick? I guess my next question. Yep. Hold on, but before we get to that, now that we're halfway through, has everybody that was on your first, maybe top 10 already been taken?
Not everybody.
Okay.
Like the guys you've taken for me are Steve, Barry, Scotty, and Tatanka. That's who you've taken from me.
Okay. You've taken Brett, Vader, Rick Steiner, Arn Anderson, and Ricky Morton from me so far. So just a little transparency there for everybody. Go ahead. Number 15.
All right. Is Tracy Smothers.
Tracy Smothers. One of the best hands of all time.
Yes, he's an all-tool player. That's what I like. Kind of trying to be transparent with it. That's what I was looking for in a that's what I look for if I'm building if I was building a real wrestling roster. That's what I'd look for. Like I want an all-tool. I want as many all-tool players as I can get.
Yeah.
It's like now you're stale as a face. I don't want to release you because I don't want somebody else to get you. So I want you to be able to, switch sides or do something else or be a tag. We're going to put you in these two guys aren't really getting over as faces or as singles. So we're going to put you as a tag team, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Tracy. And then my second pick for round 8 is Eddie Gilbert.
And kind of in the same vein as me with Scotty Flamingo.
Scotty, yeah.
All tool player, can be a little shitty
all tool
heel.
Player. If I want somebody to book, I can have him do it. That type of thing. So yeah.
So Aron's round 8, Tracy Smothers and Eddie Gilbert. Number 15 for me is going to be one of these two fellers. I guess the first one I'll pick out of the two that I'm debating here is the Big Boss Man.
Oh, you took him. There's 2 rounds where you took both my guys.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Boss Man. And then the other one I'm going to take in this round. This will be another like personal, I'm a mark for this guy, much like Tatanka. And at this point, he's very young in his career and still has a few years left before injury takes him out of the biz. It's going to be the Patriot, Del Wilkes.
Yes, he was in my second pool.
92, he's in Global, and that was when I discovered him. Like,
yeah,
you and I both really loved, ESPN 3 p.m. watching Global, and the Patriot was the man in Global, and that's how I kind of got introduced to him and became a mark for him.
We didn't have AWA, so we didn't see him when he was there as a trooper or whatever the fuck he was. But yeah,
I don't know. In 92, in 92, had he been to Japan yet? I can't even remember if he'd been to Japan yet by 92.
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and research it. But that's a good pick.
So yes, Big Boss Man and the Patriot are my 2 picks for round 8. So round 9, number 17. Look here. And see who
sorry.
I got left. No, I'm just in my brain looking to see who I got left that I need to have.
But round 9 is me, correct?
Yes.
All right, and I should have been doing this while you were grabbing your stuff, but this is one of the grabbing your stuff. That sounded gross. When you were grabbing your beverages, this is the round that's going to be this is one of the rounds that's going to be a little difficult because you picked both the guys. You took Tatanka and Flamingo from me. They were my original round 9 picks. So I am going to go with Nikita Koloff.
Nikita Koloff, number 17. I'd have never picked him. Not a big Nikita fan, as you know.
I know you're not. That's okay. And then, just like I said, you took Flamingo away from me, but I got to keep Gilbert, so I don't need a little shitter. I'm gonna go with. Oh shit, man. I'm gonna go with. Sorry, this is gonna be a minute.
It's all right.
I'm gonna go with the Mountie.
I'm the
Mountie. I don't know why people shit on that gimmick, but there's
I don't either.
Shit on that gimmick. It's fantastic.
From being the Mountie into being Jacques the Quebecer, fucking stellar.
Yes.
And I know that the Rougeaus were a great tag team, and I really loved the Rougeau brothers, but I actually liked the Quebecers better.
Yeah, it's a different type of gimmick, and it's insane. Like their gimmick was insane if you look at it, especially when they were with Johnny.
Yeah,
it was a crazy fucking gimmick.
All right, so Aron's round. What is that? 9, number 17, Nikita Koloff, number 18, the Mountie. Mountie, good pick. I didn't have him on my initial roster, but good pick there. All right, so let me see.
I didn't have him on mine either. I'm gonna not lie. He was in my alternates, but like you fucked me on that round. So I'm like, I almost went berserker, but I'm gonna go Mountie.
I'm almost. It's fun. The last third of this is going to be fun because I'm almost out of guys I had to have, depending on whether you took them or I got them. I'm almost out of guys I had to have. So the last third of it's going to be fun because it's going to be like I'm going to be picking, like looking deep and seeing, okay,
Yeah, it's like, what can I do with this crazy ass gimmick?
making fucking decisions. So the next one, number 17 for me, is going to be El Matador Tito Santana.
Motherfucker.
Fucking wrestling Teflon, Tito Santana.
Yep.
I don't understand how Tito's got lost to time, how he's not talked about more. Because to me, I gotta say, and I know it's a bold statement, and some people might scoff at it or whatever, but when I think about myself watching wrestling, I think of Tito as like one of my favorites, like one of the all-time greats. Tito's so fucking good.
I do too, and he was. I think honestly, the reason he doesn't get talked about as much is because it's almost like when he got out of the business, he was out of the business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
he was done.
Yeah, like you don't hear about him being at like conventions, or you don't see him on like interviews on like Dark Side of the Rings, or doing like podcasts and shit. I think he was. It's kind of like Sean said. Yeah, it's like we got that Tito thing. I'm just gonna go home and be with my kids and teach my classes because
be a teacher. Yeah.
When he was done, and you got to respect that.
My next pick for round 9 here, number 18. One of two. I don't think you'll pick this guy, so I'm gonna. All right, because I think you might pick him and you might not pick my other one. I'll save my other one for next. So the next one I'm going to pick, 92, Terry Funk.
Didn't have Terry. And that's not a slight on Terry. Slight on Terry Funk. I'd be like, I will fight you right now. But it was just I didn't see Terry Funk on this type of roster I'm trying to build. You know what I mean?
So I only have one more guy that I wanted to definitely have on my roster. So we'll see if you get him before I do. But yes, that's my 9th round. 17, Tito Santana. 18, Terry Funk. So 10th round.
10th round. I gotta think for a second because you took Tito. So I'm gonna go through my alternate roster, and I am going to pick. Trying to pick between these two guys. I'm gonna go with Owen
Hart. All right. You got all the hearts on your roster.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want him, man?
Oh no, definitely.
That Calgary crew's fucking badass.
And I'd have had Brett, and if we'd have got, like I said, I'm getting to the point now where I've just got one more guy that I was like, I need to have him on my roster for what I want to do. If you would have already picked Davey and Owen, they definitely would have been picks in my like 21 through 30. So not a bad pick at all, Owen Hart.
And then
he had quite the 92 with the pajama pants and Skinner spitting in his face at WrestleMania.
Yeah. But he was still one of the best wrestlers on the
planet. Yeah. I was just being funny, but yes.
Yeah. And then like I said, we're in round 10, right?
Yep. This is your 20th.
Yeah, so my second guy for round 10 is Brian Pillman.
Brian Pillman. Hell yeah. Another guy that you can do by 92, he had been around long enough as a smaller baby face that it was time, and Bill Watts saw it, but it was time that he could be a heel. So you can use him as a face or a heel.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have worked as a heel if he would have initially come in as a heel. He was a guy that had to be a baby face and turn heel.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked either Well, I guess I couldn't say it wouldn't have worked either. But I don't think it would have been as good if they wouldn't have put him and Steve together after he turned. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he worked better as being with a guy, kind of what we were talking about, with like being like Steve was the guy that was going to get in there and kick your ass, and Brian was going to be the guy that was going to be the little pest. You know what I mean?
He was
Like
gonna brag.
initially,
He was gonna brag about Steve kicking your ass.
yeah, like he was like his initial heel turn, like when he kicked the crutch out from Brad and all that shit. It was good, but I don't think it would have sustained. But him
Right.
being with a bigger guy that was kind of a more of a badass worked.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Aaron's 19th and 20th pick, round 10, Owen Hart and Brian Pillman. So yeah, you literally have the Hart Foundation here because Neidhart's not on any of these lists. So
yeah, he
had a fanny pack full of
on
coke.
he was on his own stratosphere, as Dusty would say.
All right, so my 10th
Just
round
on a jet ski. Imagine Jim Neidhart on a jet ski with a fanny pack full of cocaine. It's like, oh my god, what is happening?
Wild.
Anyway, go ahead.
My next pick, number 19, some people might say, because this is the last guy that I had on my list of people that I thought I needed to have on my roster. Some people might say, what? But it's actually Coco Beware.
He was on my alternates. Like I said, I don't know how much you want to get into like talking about the guys or whatever. But he's one of the guys that pisses me off when people bitch about him being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Coco.
Well, and
go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say the people that bitch about him being in the Hall of Fame, first of all, in the WWF, okay, so maybe he lost to the bigger talent, but there's something to be said for the Carpenter that can lose good. And then in his matches with the not so big talent, he was also a star. And they obviously don't know about anything pre-WWF with Coco Beware.
Yeah. Like I there's too much time with like the WWE Hall of Fame where I know Vince put some shit picks in there or whatever, but it's like it's not necessarily their WWE. It's not entirely, and I'll give Vince this. It's not necessarily their entire WWE career.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like Vince. I like say what you want to say about him, but he did. For some of those guys, did kind of respect what they did before they got there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Coco was a fucking phenomenal worker. Was charismatic as shit and was loyal.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I got no problem with Coco Beware. Like I said, he was on my alternate list, and he was a little badass too, man. He wasn't afraid of nobody.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Calloway talks about all the time that he was the first guy who took that tombstone, and Coco was like, "Motherfucker, I think you stiff me." It's like Coco Beware, who's 5'7", afterwards ran up to the Undertaker in the locker room and was like,
"Motherfucker."
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So number
Coco.
Number 20. I'm just going to go ahead and put him on my roster because it's a very young. You talk about a wealth of potential and so good at such a young age at this time in 92. I'm just going to go ahead and draft Eddie Guerrero.
All right.
So that's my 10th round, 19 and 20, Coco Beware and Eddie Guerrero. And now the next 10 are going to be super fun because I got it. Whether you took them or not, everybody that I absolutely needed is off the board. So
that's kind of how mine is too. So we're rolling in around 11, correct?
Yes.
You've taken Papa Shango from me.
Oh.
He was my second pick in round 11. But my first pick for round 11 is, and I'm going with this for like name value, and you can put them on a poster if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Junkyard Dog.
All right, JYD.
I know he was not the JYD of Mid-South and not even the JYD of
Midwest.
the Midwest, but it's a name you can put on a fucking poster.
Absolutely. And you know what? He might be slow at this point. He might be fat at this point, but he can still fucking talk.
Yep.
You can't take that away from anybody. You know what I mean? Like the fucking Thunderbolt Patterson, he's like fucking 96 or whatever in that induction ceremony, and he still fucking can talk.
This motherfucker's preaching. It's like,
with his fucking dentures falling out.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, JYD, good pick.
And like I said, you took Papa from me. So now I'm thinking.
There's a few guys here that I'm surprised neither one of us have picked yet. But
there's a guy on my that's a glaring, big nosed person. Neither one of us has picked.
Woo! I don't know who that is.
So sorry, I'm thinking here. I'm gonna go outside the box. So like if I'm going in 92, we're thinking of this guy as untapped potential. Nobody knows who the fuck he is, so I can kind of do whatever I want with him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go La Parka. La
Parka. And I just picked him to put him on there as my random Mexican guy because he's like one of my favorites. But La Parka, man, as a luchador, La Parka is great because he's entertaining. He can wrestle lucha style, but he can also wrestle heavyweight style.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite luchadors ever.
Oh, he is. And how do I say it? Like he was like the lucha that went to WCW, and he was the biggest one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think, other than the obvious, like Eddie, but he was the one that got how to work here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really change his gimmick. Like he still danced and shit in Mexico or whatever, but like he could do the lucha shit. But then if he got in there with somebody like a Finley or something, he could slow it down and work that style too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. He got
it. It was him and Silver King. I think we're the guys that got the American style most out of all the luchadors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Aaron's 11th round, 21-22, JYD and La Parka. And as I was looking here,
those have ever been said together.
As I was looking here while you were talking, kind of like scanning over everything, I decided this round is going to be another grab a tag team round for me. So number 21 and number 22 for me, 1992. Keep the year in mind, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and pick up Steve Williams and Terry Gordy.
God damn. They were both in my alternates, but yeah, that's like, them are some ass kickers, man.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, they were, and actually, to be honest with you, and I know that Gordy was great as a Freebird, and I like the Freebirds, and Steve Williams has this reputation for. I was never. I hate to say it because I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting him down or anything, but I'm not a huge fan of Steve Williams singles. I know a lot of people are in Mid-South and all that. But to me, the best Williams and Gordy ever were when they were Williams and Gordy. My personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, I'm not shitting on anything else they ever did, but for me as a fan, they're best as a team together for me.
Yeah. All right. This is gonna be my pee break.
Oh, all right.
I'll be right back.
All right. So we are at round 12, number 23 and 24. It's Aron's turn.
All right. Full disclosure, this is one of the rounds where you took both my guys. This was my barbarian boss man round. You took them. So we are going to go with me trying to pick two baby faces that I really like. So I am going to pick out of these two. I'm going to go with Rick Steamboat.
All right. Ricky Steamboat. You're not going to get a bad match out of that guy.
Nope.
I've never seen a bad Ricky Steamboat match.
Oh, it's because one never happened.
Yeah, I've seen a bad Ric Flair match, but I've never seen a bad Ricky Steamboat match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's never happened. And interesting fact, and I don't know why I looked this up, but do you know what record he has?
Steamboat? No,
and you might tell me if I'm wrong, because you're smarter than me. He has the longest gap between WrestleMania in-ring appearances.
No, you're right. You're right.
21 years.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. And if you would have said, "Oh, this guy hasn't wrestled at WrestleMania for 21 years," you're like, "Oh, this is gonna suck." But it was like fucking fantastic.
It's like the best wrestling match on the card. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking nuts, man. So yeah, I took Steamer, and like I said, you took Barb away. You took Boss Man away from me, and you took Barb away. So since you took Barb, and I kind of want that big, crazy type character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are gonna say, "Well, why'd you pick this guy?" Well, because I like him and I like his gimmick. I'm gonna go with the Berserker.
The Berserker, John Nord.
Not a good dude, but I liked that character.
Yes. Well, and a lot of people diss the character of the Berserker, but essentially they just took the John Nord character and threw a helmet on him. It was the WWF. They're going to cartoon it up. But they didn't really change him that much as far as a wrestler or his speech pattern or anything like that.
Yeah, we just gotta put a hat on you and go out there and be you.
But wear this hat.
Wear this hat.
So I'm going to go ahead. So there's Aron's round 12, 23, 24, Rick Steamboat, and the Berserker. And then now that I'm digging in, now that I'm doing the math, now that I'm looking at my roster, and I picked the people I picked for a reason, because you're building something. But I'm gonna do a little bit of marquee value in this next round.
Okay.
Because I have some younger talent, some really fucking good talent.
Feel like you're about to grab Big Nose
on the card. But maybe for, at least my first few shows or whatever, I want to have some marquee value to get people in the door and, get your average. So I am going to go ahead at number 23 and draft Hulk Hogan.
All right.
I mean, say what you want about Hulk Hogan, but there's that big argument.
Put his name on a fucking card.
Yeah, there's that big argument as in wrestling history, who's the biggest name, Hogan or Austin? I always say Hogan. And the reason I say Hogan is because Hogan's run was longer. Like Austin's big time on top, and I know it was fucking hot. I lived through it. But it was only a couple of years. Yeah, it was like two and a half years. Hogan's run was from 84 until I'd say it started dying off in 90. So there's 6 years, and then resurrected in 96 as Hollywood, and that lasted 2 or 3 years. So
yeah, I'd say 90 or 84 to 92. I mean, he was still the man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know Steve, they say Steve made more money or whatever, but yeah, no, I mean, and I'm not knocking Steve at all.
No.
How do I want to say it? From an entertainment aspect, if you told me just straight out who was more entertaining to you, I'd say Steve. Okay.
Right.
But just looking at it from a logical, just business model of this guy or that guy, it's Hogan. Nobody can fucking touch him.
So Hogan's 23, 24. As we were talking about it, I was looking through this list and I was like, holy shit, how did I not catch this one? So I'm going to snag him up real quick. I'm going to put somebody else on the back burner. And I got to draft Cactus Jack.
I almost picked Cac. I almost picked him.
What I'm going to do with him to be determined later, because I don't know how I even missed, I don't know how I missed drafting him in the first place, but yeah, so 23 Hulk Hogan, 24 Cactus Jack. So here comes round, the fuck is this, 13. Round 13. Getting close to the nut cutting.
And we got down to these last 6 guys, and they were just, I don't want to say just 6 guys. I was like, whatever. But you gotta have lower card or whatever you want to call them guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, it comes later. I didn't pick him because he was a lower card guy. I picked him because I thought of a fucking angle for him. But I'm not gonna spoil my angle. But my round 13, the first pick is Jim Powers.
Jim Powers.
A good-looking white meat baby face that you can have him win some jobber matches, but have him lose with a heel on the fucking show or whatever in the main event, and it doesn't ruin him or anything because it's Jim Powers. If that makes sense.
It does.
And then my second pick for round 13 is also a guy that I'm gonna, when he comes out, I'm gonna say take that shit off, is Super Invader.
Super Invader, as we all know, or some of us might know, that's Hercules with the pantyhose on his head.
Yeah. You got a pantyhose. You got a panty on your head. That might even be his vignette. Is I'll do like a spoof on fucking Raising Arizona. He gets in the car and fucking Ron Wright looks at him like, you got a panty on your head.
Ron Wright. He got his blanket on his lap.
Yeah.
All right. So 25 and 26 for Aron. Jim Powers and Super Invader, of course, Hercules Hernandez. All right. So I'm going to kind of 25. Damn it. Okay, let me see here. He's still there. Can't believe he's still there. All right, 25. Ric Flair.
All right. He was in my alts. I don't know why though. Like I don't.
It's because 92, like people don't think about 92 a lot because it was a time where the business was kind of in like turmoil and you're starting to get into the trials and box office is down. But the reason you don't think of it, you didn't think of him when you were looking at these rosters, is it's also a time where there are so much good young talent fucking coming up.
Yeah.
you know?
And he wasn't even old in 92.
No. But by wrestling standards, he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was easy for me also to overlook him because when I looked at the rosters and I was like, nobody picked when we were like, we got into the 20s and I'm like, nobody drafted Hogan, nobody drafted Flair. But then I look at it and I'm like, I look at the early part of my roster. Oh, look at all these guys that are so fucking young and ready and hungry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick Flair. Flair and Hogan kind of like, again, they have that marquee value. Let me see here. Sorry, everybody. I'm looking these over to see. Okay. Next pick, 26. And in 92, I was still a big fan. I'm not a fan by the time it gets to like the NWO era because he kind of pretty much changed and just went. But in 92, I thought he was a really good, great undercard babyface. I'm going to pick on my roster Marcus Bagwell.
He was on my secondary.
Because in 92, for his age and his experience, he really was really fucking good.
Yeah. So. And tag teams. I didn't like
him. Yeah, definitely.
Guy or whatever. But yeah, I can see it.
So 25 and 26 for me, Ric Flair and Mark Bagwell.
All right, so we're in the last 2 rounds here, correct?
Yes, the final 4 for each roster.
All right, and then we're going to do them and then run down each roster, correct?
Yep, we'll quickly run down each roster and then we'll both get to work on booking our shit.
I did add one thing at the end, if that's okay. And it doesn't have anything to do with our draft. And I'll do these last 2, that way you can kind of think about it too. Talking about the real draft with the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have one, that's fine. But in your opinion, the worst draft idea they ever had, like pick or whatever they ever had. If that makes sense.
For WWE, like the way the draft was set up, or
anything, they moved this guy from this brand to they moved this guy from SmackDown to Raw, or this guy from Raw to SmackDown, or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But my second to last round is another name where I was thinking you can put this guy in a poster and non-smart marks or whatever you want to call it, just name value. You know what I mean? Like, and he's maybe not even one of my favorite guys or whatever, but is Jim Duggan.
Jim Duggan's always over.
Yeah, you can put Hacksaw on.
People can say what they fucking want. Oh, he was better in Mid-South. All right, that's fine, but he was always fucking over.
Yeah, and you put like Hacksaw on a fucking poster or a flyer or whatever. People, I know Jim Duggan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay $22 to go watch Jim Duggan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And a super fucking nice guy, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So, Jim Duggan is my first pick in round 14. And then my second pick in round 14 is a guy that I said it earlier, that if I just look at this guy, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I want this guy on my fucking show. Is Vinny Vegas.
Vinny Vegas. I'd have picked him too in these last 4. I keep looking at his name, and I totally agree with you. Like, he probably like, I've picked the next round already in my brain, but 29-30, he'd have been there. So yeah, we're in agreement. 92, big, charismatic, talented. I don't know. I've seriously never gotten anybody that's ever like dogged on Nash. I've always been like, what the fuck are you talking about? The guy's got everything you need to be a successful professional wrestler.
then they're always like, well, he only had like 5 moves. Like, well, the 5 that he hit looked like they fucking killed you.
Yes, and not only that, but he's like the antithesis of Andre. Like Andre, and I'm talking about later Andre, but Andre had his 5 moves, and they look like they would kill you. But if Andre needed to be in the ring for 25 minutes in a technical brawl, he couldn't do it. Kevin Nash could do his 5 moves to fucking Mabel, and it looks like he crushed him. Or he can go 25 minutes with fucking Bret Hart, and it's one of the best matches you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've never gotten people that shit on Kevin Nash. It's fucking stupid.
They're like, oh, he never bumps. It's like, no, people bump around him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I hate the whole aspect of people talking about he was a bad worker. Like, no, you don't understand what a worker is.
Right. Yeah. And
A
he
worker is
doesn't
somebody that can take what they have and make it fucking work.
All due respect to the guy, and it's, you just said he doesn't bump. All due respect to the guy, I think the way that he was booked and the way that he was made to bump and the way that he was made to sell for other people took a big fuck ton away from the legacy of Paul White.
Yeah.
He was not protected. Like a guy that size, he gave too much for a guy his size.
And there were points that he did too much too. Like
like literally the greatest finish to a Paul White match ever is when Cody beat him for the Intercontinental title in a tables match. I don't know if you remember it or not.
Is that where he stepped on the table or whatever?
Cody gave him a little drop kick, and he kind of flinched off the drop kick like Cody was a fucking cockroach or a fly, but then he stepped down and stepped through the table. That's how you fucking beat a guy like the Big Show. You know what I mean? By fucking accident.
I understand that. That's not my favorite finish to a Big Show match. My favorite finish to a Big Show match was when he chokeslammed JBL through in that cage match where he chokeslammed.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, you're right.
JBL was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's my favorite. But it's like, and I know we're talking about Big Show, and he wasn't even whatever. But like talking about like, I know, but it was just like talking about like, don't just because you can do it, don't do it. Like he hit like a flying drop kick on a Nitro or whatever, and thought it was gonna be like he thought he said he thought he was gonna go to the back, and everybody's gonna like be patting him on the back, and Kevin Sullivan looked at him and said, "Never do that again."
All right, so for Aaron's second to last round, Jim Duggan, Vinny Vegas. This is hard because I have a few. Okay. All right, I am actually 27. I'm going to go ahead.
If you take my last two, I'm going to be... It's funny because it's like if you take my last one, I'm going to be more mad that you took like my first one. It's so weird.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, 1992. All right. Michael Hayes.
He was an alternate.
My 27 is Michael Hayes. I have a plan. I'm not going to reveal it yet because as I was looking, I was like, I could do this with him.
They did a cool thing in 92 with him. Sorry if you don't want me to talk
go
about
ahead.
it or whatever.
No, go ahead.
Like I liked when they put Mike Hayes as like the mouthpiece manager with Aron and Bobby Eaton.
Yeah, it was like the three greatest tag teams of the 80s. The
three greatest tag teams of the 80s are now a thing.
Yeah,
like,
that was neat.
That going.
No, that was neat. I like that too. And the minute you said they did this thing with him in 92, I was like, yep, we're talking about that because that was cool. That was fucking cool shit. It didn't last long.
They should have kept that shit. Yeah.
So Michael Hayes.
I think it was a Bill Watts' idea, and then they shit canned him or whatever. But yeah, I thought that was cool.
Number 28. And at this point, I'm picking between. You know how earlier with Jim Powers, you said you need like some lower card guys.
Yeah.
And I have a couple, but with these two, I'm actually picking between them because I want to know. I'm trying to decide who I think is the better of the two workers for a lower card. 28. Barry Horowitz.
Oh, you took him.
And full disclosure, I was deciding between Barry Horowitz and Cato, Paul Diamond. But yeah, Barry Horowitz. So my second to last round, I got Michael P.S. Hayes and Barry Horowitz. Got 2 picks left. Aron. It's funny because early in the thing you're like, I want to get these people, and now at like 29 and 30, I'm actually thinking harder about it.
Yeah, we kind of did the same thing, but since you took Barry, and it's funny that you mentioned this guy, he was in my alternate route, my alternate list. I'm gonna go ahead and take Paul Diamond.
All right, Cato, Paul Diamond. By this time, Pat Tanaka's gone. The Orient Express is no more. That's why Pat Tanaka wasn't on this list, because Cato's just like a jobber with music at this point in the WWF. But
yeah,
Paul Diamond, hell of a fucking worker. So
yep.
So this is it. Number 30, your last pick. Last of the Mohicans.
Pick. The last of the Mohicans is Larry Zbyszko.
Spudhead. Larry Zbyszko.
Yes. And it's funny because I was like, I don't want Nate to take him, but there's like a reason I picked him last. And it's nothing to do with his talent or anything. It's just an idea I had. So yeah, Larry Zbyszko.
Now, one of my 2 last picks is the same kind of deal. Like if he would have picked him, I would have been like, oh shit. But I wouldn't have been like stressed about it or anything. But so number 29, my 29th pick to round out this bitch. Because I have one that I definitely want. So I'll just pick him for 29, and then I'll debate in my head real quick about the last pick. Greg the Hammer Valentine.
All right.
29. Now let me have a little internal debate here about these last 2. Who I'm going to pick as my last pick. Number 30 for my roster. 1992. I am going to go ahead and draft Sting.
All right. He was in my alts, but I mean it doesn't matter anymore because I picked all my people. But yeah.
All right. So here we go. Let's get our full rosters so we can get a kind of a satellite image of what our rosters are going to be, and then we can get to work on booking whatever. Like I said, as far as what you do for the next show, for your big show, if you want to, whatever you want to fucking do, just do it. You know, if you want to have TV and have angles and tell me some story, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's our fucking show. Okay. We can do what we want.
Yeah.
So my roster going into this after this draft in 1992 is Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Bobby Eaton, Jushin Liger, Barry Windham, Randy Savage, the Beverly Brothers, The Undertaker, Papa Shango, Tatanka, The Barbarian, Scott Steiner, Scotty Flamingo, The Big Boss Man, The Patriot, Tito Santana, Terry Funk, Coco Beware, Eddie Guerrero, Steve Williams and Terry Gordy, Hulk Hogan, Cactus Jack, Ric Flair, Marcus Bagwell, Mike Hayes, Barry Horowitz, Greg Valentine, and Sting. And both of these rosters are fucking awesome. Anyway.
Yeah.
And Aron's roster is Bret Hart, Vader, Rick Steiner, Ted DiBiase, the British Bulldog, Rick Rude, Dustin Rhodes, Rick Martel, Brad Armstrong, Big Josh, Ron Simmons, Arn Anderson, Ricky Morton, Tom Zink, Tracy Smothers, Eddie Gilbert, Nikita Koloff, The Mountie, Owen Hart, Brian Pillman, Junkyard Dog, La Parka, Ricky Steamboat, Berserker, Jim Powers, The Super Invader, Jim Duggan, Vinny Vegas, Kato, and Larry Zbyszko.
All right. Those are two great fucking rosters.
They are, and there's still talent here. I'm looking, I'm like, nobody drafted the Road Warriors. Nobody drafted Sergeant Slaughter. Like, there's so much talent still left over.
Yeah. And
anyway.
Something fun too. I don't know, it just popped in my head, Nate, but like maybe even post the rosters on the Facebook page and see like who do you think drew the better roster, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. But
no, I'll do that after I post the show. I can definitely do that.
Yeah. And then so to end it out, I was just gonna, like I said, ask the question of, and if you don't have an answer, that's fine. But
no, I have one.
It's what do you think is like the dumbest thing WWE ever did in one of their drafts?
To me, the first thing that came to mind when you said that, and this is all about time frame, everybody. This is all about what time it happened at. I thought it was dumb just because of his association with the program. I thought it was dumb when they moved JR from Raw to SmackDown. And they didn't even tell him they were going to do it.
Yeah, that was dumb, and that was a shitty move. And you should have never taken JR off of Raw.
No, he was just synonymous with that
it was
program.
It was like sacrilegious or whatever.
And that's not even hating on Michael Cole, because we both like Michael Cole.
I like Michael Cole. Yeah, I thought it was dumb, and I bet if you ask Michael Cole, he'd tell you it was fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But mine is kind of it's not the same thing, but it's just when it happened, I was like, no, I don't like that. It's when they switched John and Batista.
Oh,
I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I mean,
to me, like Batista was my guy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bigger Raw fan. And it's like that Triple H Batista feud could have had it could have been a fucking year-long thing even after it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just didn't like it.
No, and I
it
mean,
was dumb.
You ask them internally, they'll tell you their reasons. Oh, the other stupid. Actually, you know what? We're both wrong. Jim Ross moving to Raw, or Jim Ross moving to SmackDown, terrible. Switching Cena and Batista, terrible. But the worst thing the WWE ever did with any of their drafts was doing drafts and then never fucking sticking to them.
Yeah, that's a glaring one. Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying, like,
Jesus
just
Christ.
internal moves.
Like, what investment do I have in you doing a draft where I know 3 weeks from now it's just going to not fucking matter anyway? Like, at least Triple H with his draft that he recently did has established firm rosters. Now, granted, they make and making exceptions is okay too. Like this week they had CM Punk on SmackDown, but they were in fucking Chicago. You know, when it's a glaring reason, it's like, that's fine. Let CM Punk make an appearance in Chicago. But overall, since they've done that draft, they have stuck to they've stuck to firm rosters. They haven't done any crossover or anything. So hopefully he sticks with that, and it's Hunter, and I think he will. But yeah, that always has bothered me. Like, why should I give a shit about the draft when it's not going to matter in a month?
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, just move wise, I never liked I remember being like, no, I don't like that. This is a fan aspect. Like, Batista's my guy.
Well, and not just that, but you're trying to get Cena over and people are kind of booing him. So why not leave him on the program that's pre-recorded?
Yeah.
so you can pipe in some fucking cheers for the motherfucker. But anyway, that is our drafts, everybody. That is our rosters, and we will start getting to work on booking our super cards for these rosters and the reasons why these wrestlers are having these matches and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's going to be fun. Like I said, Aron, carte blanche, whatever you want to fucking do, just do it.
All right.
who you want to be your announced team and there's a couple managers you want to have or whatever, who people you want to feature on your show, let me know and we can hammer that out. But those are our rosters. Thank you for joining us. Aron, any parting words for our listeners before we sign off this week?
Nope, because I got to pee. So just thanks for listening.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time around we're going to turn our draft into a reality. And we'll see you next week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye, motherfuckers.